Okay guys, so we have surface area on prisms and cylinders today. Guys will be able to draw a net and find the surface area of prisms and cylinders. So first of all, I want you, if you guys haven't done this already, please go ahead and write the names for all of the figures on your note sheet. So you have 3 figures on the front and then you have 6 figures on the back. So just go ahead and write those. You can pause it and I will go over the answers here in a second. So some vocab that you need to know: a prism is a 3-dimensional solid made of plane figures, 2 of which are congruent parallel bases. The bases are the faces of a prism that are congruent and parallel, and then the bases are help name your prism. So for example, we have our pentagonal prism. So this is a pentagon down here, and we have a pentagon here. Triangular prism, the 2 bases are triangles. The lateral faces of a prism are the faces of the prism that connect the 2 bases, and these are always going to be rectangles. The lateral edges are the intersection of 2 lateral faces. So wherever your 2 rectangles or where 2 rectangles intersect, that is a lateral edge. So we'll go through and draw some nets. I actually might go ahead and just skip through this and pull up the answers to this because I'm at home and it's a little bit hard to write with the stylus on here. So give me a second. So first of all, before we go through that, why don't you just write the surface area equation down? So surface area, we abbreviate it as SA, is 2b plus p times h. B is the area of the base, and then P is the perimeter of the base, and H is the height of the solid. So lateral and surface areas of a prism. So we do the P times H because we have the perimeter of the base, and then our other rectangles, the sides that make up the prism, can be considered one big rectangle, so we can use that to find the lateral area of my prism. Then the B's, the big B's, are where my area equations come into place. And because we have 2 bases, we're going to multiply that by 2. So the first one is a rectangular prism, and notice how I filled in the lengths there. That is important for you guys to fill in as well. So my 2 bases are this one and this one. If you don't want to fill in all of the lengths, that's fine, but it's definitely helpful for you to figure out what the surface area is. So my bases are rectangles, okay? And, oh, I didn't want to draw it with that. Sorry guys, hold on. My bases are rectangles, so to figure out the area of a rectangle, I just do length times width or base times height. And I don't have my good stylus here. Sorry guys, it might be a little messy. So my base is 123.5. And that is only for one base. So I'm going to circle that, and I am circling that just so that I know I'm going to use that a little later. The perimeter of the base is you're adding up all the sides together of the bases. So I have a rectangular base, so I'm going to do 2 times 19 plus 2 times 6.5. And we're going to add those 2 together and do some multiplication, and I get 51. Now, when you look at, and sorry guys, this is not the greatest quality here. Now, when we look at our figure, we use the 19 already for our area and for our perimeter, and we also use the 6.5. So the remaining thing is my height, and that is 29. So now, using my equation, I'm going to write it at the top here so I have room. My surface area is 2 times my B, the big B, 123.5, plus P, which is 51, times 29. And you're just going to plug that all into your calculator, and you get 1,726 centimeters squared as your total surface area. The next one is a triangular prism. So the most important thing here is that, okay, we have our two, whoops, didn't want to do that, one in yellow. We have our two bases here, okay? So what we need to do first when we are drawing down our edge lengths is that we don't have this side here or this side and then this side or this side. So that is why I went ahead and did the Pythagorean theorem here, because that we have a right triangle and I need to figure out what the hypotenuse is. So once I did the Pythagorean theorem, I got my hypotenuse was 5.7, and then I can go ahead and do my surface area. So my surface area is 1/2, or sorry, my bad. The base, the area of the base, B, is 1/2 times base, which is 4, times the height, which is 4. We're not going to use that 5.7 until later. So that would be 8 for my area of one of the bases. For the perimeter of the base, perimeter is always just adding up all the sides together, so that is where the 5.7 comes in, and I need to add that there as well. So the perimeter of the base, one of the bases, is 13.7. And then thinking back, we used the 4, and we still haven't used the 8, so that is what we need to find. Or that is my height of the prism here. So then surface area is 2 times 8 plus perimeter, which is 13.7, times the height, which is 8. And yes, the base and the height happen to be the same, which is fine. You're sometimes going to have that. So the surface area of this triangular prism is 125.6 inches squared. Then we have a trapezoidal prism. So because my two bases are trapezoids, we call this a trapezoidal prism. Okay, so I have to find my base, or my area of the base, and the area of a trapezoid is 1/2 times base 1 plus base 2 times the height, which is 6.3. When you put that all in your calculator, you end up getting 56.7. And then for the perimeter, we are adding up all the sides, not the height. So I have 6 plus 7 plus 12 plus 7. And I end up getting 32. Now the height, okay, this is where we get a little complicated here. We already used the 7s for, for my perimeter. We already used the 6, and we already used the 12 here, and we used the 6.3 here. So the other 12 is this 12 here, and that's not a good color, is this 12 here. And that is the height of our prism. So the height is 12. Okay, now to find the surface area, we need to do 2 times the base, or B, which is 56.7, plus the perimeter times the height. Again, just plug that all in your calculator and you get 497.4 yards squared. Surface area, surface area is units squared, so make sure that you put whatever unit it is squared. Okay, now we have our cube. So the easiest way to do a cube is you know that each side of the cube is exactly the same. So we know that, say this side here, 9 by 9 is 81. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides that are 81 square miles. Okay, so we would then just do 6 times 81 to get our full surface area of this cube, which would be 486 miles squared. For a cylinder, there are a couple different ways that you could do this. The easiest way to do it is to use the equation surface area equals 2 times pi r squared, because that is signifying the 2 times b, because b is the area of your circle, which is pi r squared. Then the perimeter of your circle times the height. So perimeter of a circle is 2 pi r, and then times the height. Or just leave it as, whoops, didn't want to do that. Sorry guys, my dogs are probably going to bark, but you guys knew that already. So, we know that my radius is 3, and then my height is 5. So I'm going to put those into the calculator, and you can put all of that in. You just need to make sure that you use parentheses. And you would get 150.6 centimeters squared. The next one is a square prism, so we're going to have to go back to the normal way to do it. So my two bases are my squares here. So because they are squares, all we need to do is 5 times 5, which would be 25. And for the perimeter of the base, we need to do 5 times 4, because each side is 5, and there are 4 sides, so we have 20. Then the height of this is the other, we already used all of these here. The only other number that we haven't used yet is the 2. So we have the height is 2. Then you can plug that into your equation. Plug that into your equation and you would have 2 times b plus p times h. So you'd have 50 plus 40, which is 90 inches squared. Then for the triangular prism, so this is really similar to the second one that we did on the front page. So after you fill in all of your values here, you know that this here and this here we technically don't have a number for. Obviously on mine I do, because I use the Pythagorean theorem. So in order to be able to do our perimeter, we need to do the Pythagorean theorem to figure out what my hypotenuse length is. And I did that and I got 9.9. So that will help us get the perimeter of the triangle. So first of all, to figure out the area of my triangle, I do 1/2 times 7 times 7, which would be 24.5. And then the perimeter of the base is where my hypotenuse comes in. I need to add up my two, my height and my base, plus the hypotenuse, because there are 3 sides to the triangle. And I get 23.9. Then the only thing that I haven't used yet is my height of the prism, which would be 6. And then I can go ahead and plug that in to find my surface area. So surface area is 2 times b, which is 24.5, plus the perimeter, which is 23.9, times the height, which is 6. And we'd plug all that in, and we would get 192.4 feet squared. Whoops. Same thing here as a cylinder. So the easiest way to do these is that special formula. It's the same thing as 2b plus p times h. We are just using the equations for a circle. So 2 times pi r squared, which is the area of a circle, plus 2 pi r, which is circumference of a circle, times h. So plug all that in. Our diameter is 10, so that means our radius has to be 5. So surface area is 2 times, 2 times pi times 5 squared plus 2 times pi times 5 times 12. And sorry, I don't really have enough room there, but that's okay. You plug that all into your calculator, you would have 533.8 meters squared. And then the last one is another trapezoidal prism. So to figure out the base, the area of the base, we're going to do 1/2 times base 1 plus base 2, so 5 plus 9, times the height, which is 4.6. Plug all that into your calculator, you get 32.2. Your perimeter of the base is adding up all the sides. So we'd have 5 plus 5 plus 9 plus 5. Oops. Perimeter of the base. And that would be 24. And then the height of this prism is the only other thing that we haven't used. We use the 9, we use the 5s, we use the 4.6, so the height is 8. Plug that into your equation. Surface area is 2 times 32.2 plus 24 times 8. And then you would get 256.4 kilometers squared. There was homework to go with this, so make sure that you get that done and upload it to Canvas. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to email me.